the Improv Summit. As always, I'm your host, Spencer. And with me today, I have a very special guest. Now, I always say I have a very special guest, and every week I do truly mean it. But to make it even more exciting and more special, I have taken everybody's first name, put it with a letter at the beginning of their first name. You get the idea. Like I would be Super Spencer or sometimes Spencer, but I'm always Spencer. But anyway, today with me, I have a very special guest. Now, I've had to do a couple of takes of this already, so I already used kick-ass, so I'm going to change it up
No, but that one's perfect.
Okay, I'll keep it. All right. Because our guest insisted and because our guest is very special, today I have to introduce to you for the second time, but the first time you're seeing it on camera, but again, kick-ass Kelsey. How's it going?
Oh, it's going so good. See, it's the first time to everyone else, so they never would have known, you know?
That's true. That's true. But I felt like I had to explain myself to my audience, even though they don't care, because that's what I do as a Capricorn. Is I like to explain the joke, even though people get the joke.
It all makes sense.
Yeah. Now you get it.
I'm a Pisces. I'm here for good vibes and just happy to be here.
There you go. That's why it's like when I'm like, okay, so here's the things we're gonna do, but I might change it up. But then also like, does that make sense? I think it makes sense. So that's what I do with my brain. And everyone else is like, you're good. Just like chill.
Yeah.
That's the structure of me and as a Capricorn and a type A. Although right now with pandemic, I'm very disorganized. So my body is not liking it.
We're doing the best we can. That's all we can ask for.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That being said, everyone knows everything about me probably at this point. So let's talk about you, Kelsey. What is your relationship to improv or what is your improv experience?
Wow. So I kind of like fell into improv. My journey is actually super interesting to me anyway. I'm a musician and an actor. And I went to school for those things. And part of my acting minor was to take an improv class. And then I like fell in love with it. And so I graduated from Columbia College here in Chicago in 2015 and then started doing improv almost immediately. I started working at the Second City here as a host and moved up to a bartender and just took classes all over the city. Started, forming improv teams and then doing sketch comedy and just have been doing it kind of nonstop ever since. So about 6 years, I've just been like, yeah, this is fun. I really like this. And it just kind of filled that performing hole in my heart that I wasn't getting anywhere. And it just gave me friends and a family and just really helped me find my voice. And it's just been such a fun journey.
That's great. I also think what's interesting it took me a while to realize this, but I think with improv, something from an actor's perspective, or I also have a degree in music, so I'm a musician actor I'm a music therapist, not like a musician making their own songs. But
no, you're still a musician.
Yeah. I mean, I do play instruments, but as a musician and an actor, one thing I learned about improv is how low stakes it is, but also how high stakes the scene is. Like what you're playing in the scene is high stakes, but there's really no stakes involved.
Yeah, it's all made up,
Yeah, so like that's what I love about it. It's like I'm not like ever making a wrong note or as someone called it once that taught me, it's a blues note. It's not a wrong note, it's a blues note.
I was about to say it's not jazz, baby.
Yeah. Because it's like improv. So really like literally anything is correct. And I think once I learned that, I mean, anything is correct. I think people who understand that know what I mean. Like they're
respectfully.
Like, there are like no-nos in improv because they're no-nos in real life. So don't do the no-no. If you wouldn't do it in real life, don't do it at improv.
Right, yeah.
But that's what I think I learned about improv being so wonderful is that I'm always like, I want to make sure I do the right thing. But then once I learned that I can make the character or the scene high stakes, but me as an improviser, I have no stakes on the table whatsoever in this scene as a person, as Spencer. In the scene, oh yeah, the stakes are high for my character. What do I want? What do I need? All this kind of stuff. But as an improviser, it doesn't matter if this scene like goes off the rails because I don't even remember what happens 2 minutes after I do a scene. I don't remember what the scene was. So like the attention span that I have is maybe not conducive to long form improv in general, but I know that if I'm like, oh, I could have said this, I don't want to linger on what I could have or didn't say or whatever because it's improv. And so the stakes are so low.
Yeah, the minute I stopped caring about what's funny and what would be really good and kind of using my like musician or writer brain and being like, oh, I have to do this or I should do that, or the minute I stopped doing all of that is the minute improv became fun and I started succeeding for my own,
Hmm.
checklist, so to speak. And that's when it started becoming like this super fun journey of like, I'm here to have fun. I'm here to have fun with my friends. I'm here to do things and make things up because none of this is real. And the stakes are super like low, but then like
Hmm.
creating chaos I love chaos. I think it's so fun. That's why also I love improv. It's
Uh-huh.
just like none of this matters. Just have fun. And like that's the thing is I do a show, and after every show, I'm always like, that was so much fun. And it always is. I'm always like genuinely laughing and having a good time. And it's
Mm.
like nothing can beat that feeling in the world. So even if someone's
Oh
like,
yeah.
well, technically, and I go, I just like don't care. I had a really good time and everybody was respectful, and like that's all that really matters to me. I'm not
Yeah.
here to
Oh
make
yeah.
money.
Sure. And it also happens like you say that. Like I remember some of my favorite moments. I remember a countdown in a show once,
Mm,
the game, and I've learned I'm not great with like scenic games or games that require a lot of like character and like building a scene and building a world and all this. Like there, I mean, I'm like great with puns. Like that's where like
yeah,
I'm like give me a pun game or like a world's worst. Like I can get it no problem.
too good.
Like and I can make myself and the audience laugh even if it's not a pun because I'm that good at it. It's just to toot my own horn. But anyways, um, but when it comes to like something like Countdown, I remember it was like me and two other players and we were going in and they started doing a scene with it was like a two-person scene and I was like, how do I insert myself into this two-person scene? They're like on the beach and I was like, I don't know. And it's like, okay, you got 10 seconds left. And I was like, I gotta do something. I gotta go in and do something. And I just went and laid on the ground and was like, I'm a whale. And like, that's what I did,
And that's what
like
it
in
is.
the ocean. And I got the biggest laugh and I went, okay, great. I can literally keep doing this because all I have to do is jump in and make some weird physical choice and say I'm a whatever. And then it ended up me being like, I'm a snake. And like we changed like the location each time or whatever.
Oh, fun.
But like each time, and then it's like, okay, you have 10 seconds. And I just went out and I just went and laid down on the ground and went, I'm an oyster. Like I just, whatever they were talking about, I just said an animal. And it was so funny because I literally didn't have to think about it. Those stakes were so
Right.
low. It was me going out and making a physical choice and saying, I'm a blank.
Right. And
Like,
that's
no
what it
thinking
is.
involved.
It's like, yeah, anytime you see, like, you find yourself overthinking on, like, what would be good here? What would be fun? It's like, what do you want to do? And, like, that's one thing I've really found helpful with doing Zoomprov over this past year and a
Hmm.
half is I don't have that audience physically there to get inside my head. Not that the audience does anything wrong, but like I allow them to get in my head and to, oh crap, I didn't get a laugh. I thought that was funny, but they didn't find it funny.
Hmm.
What the heck is wrong with me? But doing Zoom prov in my living room by myself with nobody there has
Hmm.
really helped me. I just ripped my headphones out. Has
That's
really
okay.
helped me.
I'm surprised I haven't done anything yet. I have a wireless earbuds, and somehow those are like
Right.
harder for me to not mess up.
Right. But that's really helped me allow myself to just be and to just be like, what's funny? What do I think is funny? I don't give a crap what I do. Just like, just do it and see what happens.
Hmm.
And if you didn't like it, you won't do it again. But if you did like it, maybe you'll do it again. Just like really being your biggest fan, I think is like the perfect the perfect ingredients for a good improv scene.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I also think, speaking off of that, it's a lot about like what people say, what you can control. I can't control an audience's level of humor. I don't know what the audience is going to be like or what they're. I know how I can control myself in a scene is I can support my fellow teammates. I can listen. I can yes and I can make choices. I can't predict or control what the audience will say or do or laugh at.
Right.
So if I'm controlling what I can control and then I'm giving my best performance, whether or not they laugh, it's like I supported my team. I made great choices. I yes anded all these things, and I think that kind of goes back to what you were saying is like not letting the audience get into your head because you can't control the audience. You don't know what
Right.
they're gonna do, and it could be an audience that laughs at literally everything, or it could be an audience that's a very smiley audience where they don't laugh, but they're just like, I'm
Right.
enjoying this.
And that is no depiction on who you are as a person.
Hmm.
And like sometimes, it is, but like if someone's being like a big old jerk and the audience reacts to that, but like for the most part, like the audience, it's like you never know what anybody's going through. And like I always like to say, play the scene that you're in. And that is
Mm.
just like you said, yes, and just you can't control anything. And there's so many times that we want to control everything, and improv is the one thing that you just can't, and like that's kind of nice to just play the scene you're in and
Yeah.
just see what happens, and then you'll never see it again. And that's like kind of cool. Like,
Mm-hmm.
cool, we made magic, can never make it again. Moving on. Look how cool that was. It's like as simple as that, and
Yeah.
it's nice.
It is nice, and it almost actually makes me think of like stone soup in a way, or like passing down a recipe. Way back in the day, before you wrote down recipes, you'd pass it on to someone, but it would change just slightly.
Mm.
So it's like improv is like its own recipe, where like the first time you do it, great, this was a great scene. We had all these ingredients. Now when we do it again, we're gonna have the same ingredients, but we might have a little more yes and, a little less this, a little more active listening, a little less this. So it's never going to be the exact same. The suggestion is going to be different. So you're not going to have the same scene because the suggestion's different
Exactly.
every time. But it's like playing with the idea of like there's all these. This is a great analogy. I'm just proud of myself now. I didn't even like anticipate this, but
You're like, I'm very intelligent. I'm doing a very good job.
I know I don't seem like it most of the time, but I actually kind of know what's going on.
You're shooting yourself in the foot before you give everyone else a chance to love you. Just like you're doing great.
People love me for all my faults, but they don't know my strengths. No.
Well, only because you don't let them.
Here on the Improv Summit Therapy Edition. No.
Hey, I'm a Pisces. Like I said, that's what.
So sometimes we need a little laugh, and improv does that sometimes. No, but I think it is like the idea of like taking a soup and putting whatever ingredients you want in there. Sometimes you have to like put a little extra pepper in there. Maybe there's a scene where it needs a little extra something, but maybe sometimes you back off on the seasoning and you don't need any seasoning. It's just good as it is. Very bland.
Hey,
I was gonna
depends on who's paying.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing is also with audiences, there are certain audiences that request certain things or request not certain things. And especially if it's a paying audience, a private paying audience, that's something that has to be respected and also adjusted, which is why improvisers are so good at adaptability, which also leads me into a question. I did it.
Love that.
Which is, what have you noticed as an improviser that you've picked up on in improv that you've learned that works outside of like performance acting musicians, but like if you had a day job or like, you know, just in everyday life, what are some things that you've picked up on that you can carry with you from improv?
100% play the scene you're in. I, just like we talked about, control, and you know, I have a lot of like mental health issues, and there are so many times I just would love to just get mad and get angry and get frustrated and like give in, and there are times you have to accept those emotions and understand where they come from. But improv really taught me to bring that into my everyday life of it is what it is, and you can do all the things to control yourself, how you react, what you say, who you hang around with, what you do with your spare time, you know, what can you do to follow your dreams, things like that, to make yourself better or whatever. But like, I can't control what you do or say, and anyone down the street. It's, you just got to play the scene that you're in, and also, none of this is real either, you know? No one knows what they're doing. No one knows what they're doing. You just got to roll with it. And it's, you know, it's not always perfect, but I think that is the number one thing that, like, the minute I learned that in improv, it clicked in my normal life. And I was like, oh, it is what it is.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Real quick, I actually realized that I have a dog that's ready to come back inside. So could you just quickly, it's not even my puppy, could you just quickly do any plugs and pitches while I go do that? Any plugs and pitches you have for you or anything you'd like to do while I go grab that dog?
I would love that. So a few things. I'm on Comedy Sports here in Chicago, and we do online shows on Twitch. So CSZ and CSZN Network. Give us a follow, watch our shows. I also have a short film out called The Goose on YouTube. The Goose Free Trial Run, that is my group name. I wrote it and starred in it, and I had my awesome friends work on it with me, directed by Jonathan Lee Ray. It was such a super fun time. So if you like campy parody horror comedy movies and you don't like geese, watch that movie. Big fan of that. Oh, I also have social media. This is so nice. I just feel like talking to myself. Wow. I'm on Instagram, Jurassic Trash with three H's. As I love Jurassic Park, I have all my things there. Wow, what a good time.
I was listening to everything, and then I realized I was like, oh, I'll bring the dog in, and then I was like, I'll just grab some hand sanitizer or whatever real quick, and then I couldn't find where it was, and I was like, oh, I gotta get back to the computer. Oh, I have to plug my mic back in. Hold on. All right. No, great. I was gonna say everything that you pitched all sounds really great. I'm excited about geese and horror films, things like that. Because geese are annoying.
Yep, and that's why I wrote
Um,
this.
but they'll also all be down in the description. So if you didn't catch it all while you're listening, you can click on the links in the description and get it from there as well. You can take a screenshot of it, send it to your friends, send it to your enemies. I mean, we don't care who's listening.
I don't. Hey, any fans are fans for me, so I'll take
Yeah,
it.
exactly. But yeah, just going back, I think that it's great what you're saying about
Mm,
like playing the scene in everyday life. And I will say, especially with mental health, like there are days where I, as a Capricorn, actually I would say every day, not there are some days, there are most days where I'm like, I can do everything. I don't need to like take care of myself at all. I can schedule myself from 8 a.m. to midnight with no problem. And then, I do it for like 3 weeks and it's all fine and dandy. And then at one point I just go, I literally can't do this.
yeah, I haven't had
um,
any time to just sit and be, and
hmm
that's another thing is you do improv, and then you're like, how come my improv sucks? I'm like, you're not living your life. You're not providing anything for a scene.
hmm
Like, I think one of the best notes I ever got was like, go out and do things with your friends. Go hang out with people. Go experience life.
Yeah.
Because when you
Lived
do
experience.
improv, right, if you go do improv and you don't do anything but improv, your improv is just going to be you being, what are you going to talk about, But like,
Right.
when I go do things and then I go do an improv show that day, I find myself talking about those things, like going to the zoo, watching a movie, like, anything as simple as going to the lake. Like, it doesn't have to be crazy, but just something, go do things.
Right.
Give yourself time. It's insane.
Oh yeah. I'll tell you one of the best notes I ever got, which is ironically, it's so interesting because it was a time I auditioned for an improv company, team, whatever.
Mm.
And the first time I auditioned, I got called back. I didn't get in, and I was like, "Could I get some feedback on what I can do?" The feedback was very general. It's like, make bold choices, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay. And then the second time I went, they had given me. I went in, got called back, and didn't get in again. And they had emailed me and were like, "Hey, we want to give you some feedback because I thought it was much stronger this time in your audition." I was like, "Okay, great." And the response that I got was, "Keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right track." And I was like, "What have I been doing?" And I literally went, "Huh, I haven't taken an improv class in 6 months. I haven't done improv in 6 months."
Mm,
And I went, "That's so interesting that my improv was better, even though I didn't take any classes." And I think it goes back to the lived experience thing. It's like if my lived experience is just me taking improv classes like 4 times a week, I'm not getting any other experience. It's just me being like, okay, I'm in a
right.
scene now, and now I have the mechanics to do this scene, but what can I feasibly talk about? And I think that that's where in the balance lies as me as a Capricorn. I have to know like, okay, and I'm good at managing when I'm overexerting myself. Like I can get to that point
Of course.
when I get to the point.
Yeah, you got to get, you
But
know what I mean? Yeah.
yeah, but I was like, that's a good point. I could take 4 improv classes a week and do nothing else, or I could take one improv class, every other
Right.
session and also like do other things. I'm still immersing myself in improv, but I'm not like just sitting there learning all the improv. And I think that I've learned that I've gotten better by just doing it, being on
Yes.
teams, going to rehearsals, doing it is another way to do it. And so I think that this actually might lead me into this question.
Mm.
Before I ask that question, do you have anything you want to say on that?
Oh, I mean, yeah, just like the balance of like after a while you can learn all you want and you still should continue to learn, but you have to apply it because then that's how you
Yeah,
find your brand and your voice and stuff. Even after every ensemble show here, for Comedy Sports, we get notes. Like it doesn't stop getting notes of being like, "Hey, great job. Loved that you did this. Maybe work on this next time." We still do check-ins of like, "Hey, a one-on-one, like, I love that you do this. I would love for you to work on this." And it's like it never stops and it never should, but finding that balance of like, "Cool, I can take less classes but still take them." But then do the work, and that just like beautiful combo.
Mm-hmm.
Love
Which
that.
actually leads me into this question, which we kind of touched on, but it's the reason why the Improv Summit exists.
Mm.
Because a lot of people before pandemic, when I was in like acting classes and improv classes and all this stuff, like I mean, I've done UCB, Second City, Comedy Sports, IO West, Impro,
Wow.
like all the like I've completed all the programs at places that have complete programs, except for like a couple that I'm still kind of trying to work my way through, or saving money to go through the
Oh
programs.
God.
But but I had people who were like, Spencer, you take improv from everywhere. Where should I take improv? And it's a hard question for me to answer, only because I don't know what that person's balance of life and work is, what their thresholds are, their bandwidth, which is a word that I like saying. I don't even know if like I like saying bandwidth. Like I've hit like my gigabyte, my hard drive is full. Like that's
Yeah.
like,
My
and then like I
cup
gotta
runneth
delete things.
over.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but it's like my bandwidth. I love that because it's like my hard drive is full, so I have to delete some stuff before I can add more.
Sure.
And I think that like for me, it's again another analogy I just created today on the show. I love it. Today's the analogy edition of Improv Summit. No,
We're just improvising, you know.
yeah, it's all improv. It's all a
All
hoax.
improv.
Improv is a hoax, but it's real. That's improv. It can be a hoax or it can be real. But that being said, if someone came up to you and said, Kelsey, you do improv, where should I take improv? What would be one, especially now with like Zoom Prov kind of being in play with a lot of places, even with places going back to in person, they're still doing online stuff. What would be one piece of advice or one tip you'd give to someone that asked that question to help guide them on their improv journey?
Yeah, so I mean, similar. What I did that worked for me. I will specify that as in like there's no
Right.
right or wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was like, I don't know where to start, so I'll start with the big one and took classes at Second City. I got a job there, and so I got a lot of like free and or discounted classes.
Mm-hmm.
So like find
What
your
a perk.
way. Seriously, I was like, I took so many classes there and paid for like 2 or 3 of them in full. It was
Yeah.
outstanding.
I didn't pay for a class at Second City. I think I did the whole thing through work study, and I did
Exactly, yeah.
con 1 through 5, musical review,
Yep.
grad review, and stand up classes. All
Yep,
so
I
a
did
lot of
so many
hours,
different. I didn't pay for any of it, and I was like,
yeah.
okay. But then through there, I found other theaters. Like I found Comedy Sports. I found The Annoyance, which is a big theater here in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
But like while I was taking these classes at these awesome big theaters, I created improv groups with my friends because, like we just talked about, I was like, the only way I'm going to get better is by doing this. And
Mm.
so I found my friends who would do little like bar prov or cabaret, nights at the little hole in the wall theater down the street from those huge theaters, and would get my friends from class or would get my, friends that I worked with that were also trying to like, make it as, a comedian or just doing improv. And we're like, hey, let's get a group together and let's just go and see what happens. And we stunk up the place a lot. But to me, that is more valuable than a great show. And it makes
Mm.
those good shows worth it, like sincerely. And it's like, I still stink it up a lot, but it's so awesome being like, oh, that sucked anyway, like it's improv. But I say, take those classes at those big theaters that you see because they know what they're doing. And just like you said, like all the teachers are there just providing their advice, and it changes from teacher to teacher. But like your classmates, get a group together and go find anywhere to do improv. Anywhere. Because at the end of the day, you doing it is cooler than everybody else wishing that they could be as cool as you doing it. So just do it.
Mm.
And apply
And
what
I
you learn
love
along
that.
the way.
I love that, and I think it also the just do it. I think the only way to get better at doing
have to.
something is by doing it.
You have to,
And
and it sucks, but you just gotta,
yeah, and I was gonna say one of the biggest things, and I talked about this a lot on the show, is back when I was graduating from my undergrad, I was doing an internship, and my supervisors, I'm sure, are not watching this show, but if they are, you know who you are. That like actually I don't think I had ever felt so depressed in my life because I just was getting constantly torn down for doing things wrong, not really being told anything I was doing right. And I was told to just like know that if I wasn't told I was doing something right, that it was right. Or if I
Oh,
wasn't doing it wrong, it was right. And eventually it was like 6 months of this internship, and then I remember hearing, well, we're going to pass you because we want you to graduate, but we don't think you should do this as a career.
uh,
And my thought was, that's fine. I just want to pass. I don't really want to deal with you ever again. Like that was what I was thinking. And so I went in, I moved out, I went to a graduate program. I moved out to LA with like all this baggage on me of like, I guess I'm not good enough, And so that's what I went in with. And then I was like, well, I guess I'll take improv because I have to have it for a resume. And I got so hooked on it because it allowed me to become confident in who I am
yeah.
as a person again. And I think that that's something that's honestly really underestimated and underrated in improv when we talk about using it for everyday life. And I think adding to what you're saying with the just do it, because I noticed the difference, I was like, I've got to keep doing this, whatever, like however it is, whether it's classes or being on a team or being with friends or just like, putting on a beat in the background and just like rapping or singing along to it and doing my own improv at home,
Yeah.
like on my computer. It made it a lot easier because the more I felt confident in myself, the more I felt confident in my improv. When I didn't feel confident in myself, I didn't feel like my improv was there. But when I felt more, yeah, you got the thumbs up because yes, when I felt more confident, and that's the thing is like when I feel like I know who I am as a person, it makes it a lot easier for me to enjoy the improv than being like, oh, I hope I'm doing it right. Oh, please don't be my supervisors.
Yep.
Like, and I noticed that like that's not how improvisers are. A lot of improvisers are very, very generous, very generous, because that's what we do. Is in scenes we give to our scene partners, we give to the audience, we give our energy in a way that we would like to receive energy. And so I think that that's a big thing. Is I told myself like I'm not good enough. People think I'm not good enough without really even talking to people or getting to know people, just assuming that people would think that because of what I had dealt with prior. And I've gotten over it, but I still think about it.
I mean,
But I
we're
think
still
about it more
human.
as a lesson of like me knowing that like it's not me, it's like the environment. And so,
Yeah.
and that's also, I think going off of that, I just like totally talked for so much time.
No, it's
It's
great.
not about me, but it also goes back to like the environment of like a lot of people take one class and they're like, I don't like this. Maybe that style's not for you. Maybe
Right.
that teacher's not for you.
Right.
Maybe whatever the case may be. Maybe it's a long distance and you have to drive a lot and there's a lot of traffic and you don't really want to drive in all that traffic.
Yeah.
It's that idea of like, don't give up just because you took one class that maybe you didn't like. Now, I'm not saying every single person will or can like or has to like improv, but if you take one class and you find it miserable, maybe go somewhere else and see if it's a better experience.
There's, a common destination that we're all trying to get to, and all of us are going to take a different route, and all of them work, and some of them lead to dead ends, but it will get you to the place you need to be. Like, you just gotta, like you said, like, not, this one's not for me, let's just back up and go another way. And like, finding comedy sports, like, it took me a while to find a place that I could feel comfortable and free in, that I felt like people actually had my back and not just like, got your back, I'm going to throw you under the bus the second I have the opportunity. And it's like, when you find your group, and like my group of friends too, like we all are so supportive of each other. And of course there's times, my friends will get opportunities that I'm like, dang, I wish I got that opportunity. But more than anything, I'm constantly so happy they got that opportunity. And it took a really long time to get here. And it still might not be perfect, but like, you just got to keep trying. And then, yeah, it might not be for you, but you still might find something else that is for you along that way, regardless if it's improv or teaching or whatever it is. It's just, you got to keep going. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. There's no right or wrong way to do anything. But I would be so upset with myself if I didn't even try. And there are days that I don't want to try. And there are days that I'm like, okay, I need to do just one little thing today that my future self will thank me for. And then here we are,
I was going to say you had an analogy about the roads, which I think was great. I just wanted to throw out there was another analogy that was invented today on the show. And then two, I don't even remember what the other thing was, but I loved it. So I'll just leave it at that. I loved what you said. So I will leave it at that because I can't remember what it was exactly, because that's my that's what it was. Thank you for explaining what I was trying to say with my Capricorn brain in Pisces brain.
Of course, I have a lot of Capricorn in my chart, so I get you.
Yeah, but also on that note too, I'm a firm believer, and I know that it's like, everyone says this, but I am a firm believer in everything happens for a reason,
Sure.
and things align in the way that they should, because especially with pandemic, there were things I was like, this is great, my opportunity is finally coming, and then pandemic kind of shut it all down, but it's all kind of like reshaping itself to actually work itself out. It's like fitting the puzzle pieces together. Analogy. But the big thing is that it is kind of going back to that improv thing of like, there are places where I went and I was like, not really a fan of this. And that's okay. I went somewhere else and found a great time. And I think that that's like finding where the stars align for you in that regard. So I wanted to kind of point out that in the astrological sense as well.
I love it. Yes, no, completely agree.
Great. Well, thanks, Kelsey, so much for joining me here on the Improv Summit. Before you go, I did say that was the last question I had for you. But as always, on the show, I am a big, bold-faced liar. And that's actually never the last question I have for my guests. The last question I have for you is, we've been talking a lot about improv. You want to do some improv?
I would love to.
All right, let's do it.
Yay.
All right, let's do some improv.
Okay.
Kelsey, what I would like from you is not a suggestion. I was going to say a suggestion, but what I would like is there's a website that I use. There's a bunch of different websites that are in the descriptions every week. This one is can-i-get-a.com, and we can get a location, a relationship, or a word. Which one of those would you like to get?
Oh, let's get a location.
Location, great. So I'm going to give you 2 locations, and you pick which one you want to go with. The option. This is how we do it here on the Improv Summit.
It's so structured.
I know. That's my Capricorn coming out.
Oh yes.
The location. The options are museum storage.
That sounds great.
Great. All right.
That sounds great.
Great. We'll do that one. Okay. And then, do you want to initiate or do you want me to initiate?
You can.
Okay. Great.
I do not care.
Okay. Museum storage. Here we go. Thank you. Jessica, there is so much crap in this place. I did not know that this museum had so much stuff. This is too much.
I know, Tom, but I found that box we were looking for.
Oh, great. That saved me a lot of time because I was going to go open every box and see what was in everything. So I'm glad that you found it. That really expedites our process.
Yeah, right. I mean, we still have maybe 20 more boxes to find.
Right.
Right?
So I guess I'll go open up all the boxes and see if I can come across it. I don't like to read the labels. I just like to look. Okay.
Well, I mean, we can look. We can look. Because this box just has that gold chalice.
That looks pretty cool.
Yeah. But I might take this. Home.
Yeah, I think isn't it just a temporary exhibit anyways? They won't know.
They won't know.
Temporarily it was here and now it's gone.
See, there's no security cameras here and they're not paying us very well. Let's keep looking.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's pay ourselves.
6 more hours on the clock. I mean, that's all we're doing today is looking for these boxes, so.
Allegedly. Museum internships are the worst.
But also the best at the same time.
But also the best because we make it work and we steal things. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And no one will know.
No one will know. I don't even know this museum. There was not even a focus. There's this golden chalice, but then there's these electronic goggles.
Yeah, it's it's called what? The Museum of Stuff. I mean, that's just how much vaguer can you get?
How much vaguer can you get? Well, hey, it's about to be all my stuff, and then we can sell it. Hey.
Yeah, and they won't know because it's literally a museum of stuff. They don't even know what stuff they have down here.
Tom, I noticed I'm doing a lot of stealing, and are you going to tell on me? Tom, are you a narc?
No, absolutely not. I'm not part of the narc police of the museums. I'm not part of the museum museum police. I'm not part of like, what do they call them? Like museum like monitors? I'm not part of the museum monitor society.
Oh my god. Because if I ask, you have to say.
That's actually not true. I don't know if you know that, but you can actually still lie about that because you don't have to blow your cover. Not that I'm.
So you're a cop.
No.
Please.
That was so fun.
Perfect.
It completely turned from what I thought it was going to be, and that was like it was funny me trying to like explain what I was not, but also like it was so specific. I was like the Museum Monitor Society.
Like, no, you're a cop. That's what a cop would say.
Yeah, technically, a cop doesn't have to say that, and it's like, yeah, I know, gotcha.
Oh, you outed yourself. Oh, improv, right? So fun.
Yeah.
You learned something new.
Yeah, right? Thanks ever so much for coming to the Improv Summit. As always, I'm Spencer. That's Kelsey. See you next time. Bye.